Well, folks, day 2 of the Trump administration, part 2, is in the books. We'll get to everything going on in a moment. First, a reminder, America's golden age is just getting started. Be here with us for every moment. There has never been a better time to join Daily Wire Plus. Use code 47 right now for 47% off your new annual membership. Well, as you can tell, my voice has still not recovered from the party that is. But the left is still not recovered. The left has not regained its semblance of reality or normalcy. One of the reasons why there's a feeling of unity in the country overall is because the era of weird is over. The era of the normie is in. And you can sense it everywhere, from the kind of stylistic choices that were made at the inauguration to J.D. Vance and his wife, Usha, with their small children. The era of it's okay to be a normie, it's kind of good to be a normie, is back. But the problem is that the left cannot embrace this. The Democratic Party cannot embrace this. And that's worth exploring for a moment, because the most obvious thing about this current election cycle is that the Democratic Party blew it. They absolutely blew it on wokeness. Woke issues are an 80-20 issue in the country. Americans do not believe in discrimination on the basis of race. That is an 80-20 issue. They reject it. Americans do not believe that little boys are the same as little girls and that boys can be made into girls or vice versa. That's an 80-20 issue. These issues are losers for Democrats. And that does make you ask a question. Why don't the Democrats just separate off from it? Every time a Democrat tries to separate off from it, that person is immediately raked over the coals. Most obviously, this happened to Congressman Seth Moulton in Massachusetts, who made the signal error of suggesting that boys should not play in girls' sports and then was clubbed about the ears by his entire party. Why can't they separate off from this? If it's an 80-20 issue, why is it so core for them to continue embracing it? And the answer is that wokeness is now the core philosophy of the Democratic Party. It is the core philosophy of the left. It cannot be separated from. The reality is that in a country of immense prosperity and historic wealth, the typical left-wing case, the Marxist case, that there are sort of classes, and these classes are solid and impenetrable. That if you're born poor in America, you die poor in America. That if you're born rich, you die rich, and your kids die rich. That's not true. It's not been true in America ever. Ever. Alexis de Tocqueville talks about the income mobility, the wealth mobility of Americans in the 1840s. It is true today. One of the most amazing things about the people who are standing next to Donald Trump during his inauguration, those tech bros, they did not all grow up uber wealthy. The people who founded my company, I'll just speak about my company for a moment. The Daily Wire was founded by 3 people. The best you can say is that one of us grew up lower middle class, probably. Jeremy Boring, co-founder of the company, did not graduate from college. Caleb Robinson did not even go to college. I went to Harvard Law School, and I grew up in a 1,300 square foot house in Burbank, California, with 2 bedrooms, one for my parents and one for the kids, which meant 4 kids in 1 bedroom and 1 bathroom for all 6 of us until I was 11 years old. The amount of income and wealth mobility in the United States is astonishing. That is always why it has been a land of opportunity, which means that in America, the typical Marxist case for the flattening and destruction of the free market in the name of equality does not work and has never worked for long. Sometimes it's applied after an economic crisis when people are looking for some sort of answer, and that's when you get the FDR administration. That's when you get Obama. But it doesn't last for long because Americans are an aspirational people. We're a people who like innovation. We like adventure. We want the exploration. The typical left-wing economic Marxist case that everything is economically unfair does not tend to work in a system that has those levels of economic mobility. The aspiration that most Americans have for their lives do not match up with what the left believes, which is you freeze society in place and you redistribute all the winnings, and then everybody is equal in penury. That is not the aspiration of the American people. When I campaigned with a series of Senate candidates during the last election cycle, whether I was up in the tip of Ohio with a bunch of white folks in tip of Ohio, or whether I was down in the Rio Grande Valley campaigning with Senator Cruz with an entirely Hispanic population, everyone wanted the same thing: to be able to keep their wealth, to build wealth for the next generation, to raise their family, to go to church, and to strive so that their kids would have a better life than they did. That is why Marxism has never successfully been applied in the United States and will not win in the United States. And that's also the reason why, for the left, economic Marxism had to be recast as something else. It had to be recast as race Marxism or sex Marxism, which is wokeism. So now the idea becomes that you have to completely restructure the system, destroy capitalism. Why? Because people are innately not different. See, the thing about capitalism is that it's a meritocracy. And the beauty of capitalism is that you don't have to be at the top level of any particular thing in order to succeed in the United States. This is the theory of comparative advantage. Right? I might be really good at talking and writing, but I'm not so good at plumbing. That person can be highly successful, like make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year starting a plumbing company. Right? That's one of the beauties of capitalism. But what the left says instead is that all people are innately exactly the same. Not equal before God, innately the same. Men and women are arbitrary categories. Group differentiation, all arbitrary. And what that means is that any inequity, any inequality between those groups must be a reflection of unfairness. And that's what wokeness is. Wokeness is the argument that all disparities are discrimination. And in order for that argument to make any sense, that means that all people must be exactly the same. So the argument to destroy capitalism has to be made on the basis that we are all basically undifferentiated widgets. This is why the left can't let go of those arguments. They can't. The minute they give up that argument, they're relegated to arguing economic Marxism again. And economic Marxism in the United States tends to lose. Bernie Sanders is popular with a relatively small cadre of the American people. His candidacy would have been a disaster for Democrats. And so they've had to move into sort of weird combo of economic Marxism, economic progressivism, Elizabeth Warren town, and race Marxism, sex Marxism, wokeness. Why do I bring this up? Well, because one thing that's been evident in the aftermath of President Trump's re-swearing in is that the left will never give this up. That made itself absolutely apparent yesterday. So the National Prayer Service was held yesterday at the Washington National Cathedral. It's an invite-only event, but it's pretty big. It's like 4,000 people show up. President Trump went along with Melania, as well as the entire Trump family. So too did Vice President Vance and his family as well. And in the middle of the service, which is sort of interfaith service, kind of, it has a variety of people who get up and speak. One of the people who was preaching, and I say preaching kind of in scare quotes, is a person named Marianne Budde. Marianne Budde is an Episcopal bishop, a female Episcopal bishop. So you can imagine she's not going to be exactly a traditionalist. And she gets up in front of President Trump and Vice President Vance, and she proceeds to spew a diatribe of woke mind nonsense that has nothing whatsoever to do with the Bible, Christianity, traditionalism, anything. 50 years ago, you would be much more likely to hear this in a Communist Party hall than in a church. One of the terrible things about the decline of religion in America is that you now hear this kind of trash in churches. So this resistance pastor gets up and is going to make herself famous by ripping into Donald Trump and J.D. Vance the day after the inauguration. And she's going to do so by spewing absolute nonsense wokeness about both trans kids who don't exist. Okay, when I say they don't exist, I mean that there may be kids with gender dysphoria, but the notion that a child knows that their body is not in line with their sex is ridiculous on its face. She spews nonsense about trans children and about illegal immigrants and suggests that if President Trump wishes to emulate the values of Jesus, then he must abandon his entire political agenda. I noticed that Jesus was not in favor of free migration across all borders. You're going to have to show me where in the Bible he was in favor of that. And I certainly know that Jesus was not in favor of the idea that boys and girls are the same and are interchangeable and boys can become girls. But of course, it has nothing to do with religion. It is what the left has done with nearly every institution. They've hollowed out the institution. They hollowed out the church and they stuck in a bunch of left-wing woke garbage. Here we go.
I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives. And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meatpacking plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they They may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and are good neighbors. They are faithful members of our churches and mosques, synagogues, wadara, and temples. I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away, and that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here. Our God teaches us that we are to be merciful to the stranger, for we were all once strangers in this land.
This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. The notion that you are now citing the biblical injunction to be kind to the stranger to suggest that you cannot have a border as a country is asinine. The suggestion that the Bible mandates that President Trump allow the mutilation, the hormonal sterilization of small children on the basis that they think they might be a member of the opposite sex is perverse. And this is a broader issue because, of course, this happened. Of course, this did. First of all, shame on whomever did not vet this particular person speaking at the interfaith service of prayer for the nation on Tuesday. Shame on them. This was all out there. Well, it must have been pretty frustrating for President Trump and J.D. Vance to have to sit there for that nonsense. But you know what else is frustrating? Spending hours searching for the best car insurance rates. Some people spend entire weekends comparing quotes only to end up more confused than when they started. That's why I want to tell you about Insurify, the insurance comparison site that revolutionized how we shop for coverage. They have dozens of top insurers competing for your business. That means better rates for you. The best part, everything happens online, no phone calls, no fees, absolutely no spam. In just 10 minutes, you can secure coverage from trusted insurance providers across America. Your privacy matters at Insurify. They're not going to sell your information. With their decade of experience and excellent Trustpilot rating, you know you're in good hands. Get to Insurify.com, compare car insurance quotes in real time, start saving today. That's INSURIFY.com, Insurify.com. Average potential savings based on initial quotes received by 183,234 customers seeking insurance through Insurify. Actual savings may vary depending on state of residence, individual circumstances, coverage selections, and insurance provider. Savings results are not guaranteed. Go check them out again right now at Insurify.com. That's INSURIFY.com. Also, New Year's resolutions, they always come with some pressure. Whether you're hitting the gym, learning a new skill, getting your finances in order, it can all feel pretty overwhelming. One resolution that often gets pushed aside is creating a will or a trust. We all know it's important, but it feels pretty daunting, and that's where our friends at Trust and Will come in. I've checked out their process. It is incredibly straightforward. You can literally create your estate plan while you relax on your couch. Their platform is designed by attorneys, but it's customizable by you, making it both reliable and personal. What really impressed me was how they guide you through everything step by step. Every will or trust is state-specific, legally valid, covering everything from care wishes to guardian nominations. Plus, all your documents are stored securely with bank-level encryption, giving your family easy access when they need it most. The best part, you're not alone in the process. They offer live customer support through phone, chat, and email. They've helped hundreds of thousands of families already. Their excellent rating and thousands of 5-star reviews on Trustpilot speak for themselves. Check one of your goals off early this year with Trust and Will. Protect what matters most in minutes at trustandwill.com/Shapiro. Get 10% off plus free shipping. That's 10% off and free shipping at trustandwill.com/Shapiro. Here's that same resistance pastor saying just a couple of years ago that everything about President Trump was antithetical to the teaching of Jesus. This is on CBS this morning.
First of all, the context which your reporting described, that after speaking so harshly and with militaristic overtones to the nation, he had the park of peaceful protesters cleared with tear gas and officers in riot gear to make a symbolic gesture, holding a Bible, as if to spiritually condone a message and a posture that is antithetical to the teachings of Jesus and everything that we as a church stand for.
It's insulting and ridiculous and divisive and silly. It's also bound to lose because the American people don't believe this, let alone anybody who takes the church seriously, who takes the Bible seriously. Whether you're Jewish or whether you're Christian, you don't take this particular perspective seriously if you happen to be a person who believes in biblical values. But the left can't let it go. They can't let it go. This was ugly because, again, an interfaith prayer ceremony for the sitting president of the United States should be a pretty nonpartisan affair. And this person turned it into a deeply partisan affair, which you knew she would. Again, shame on whoever vetted this person. But this is part and parcel of a broader unwillingness to let go of the fact that the left's attachment to woke never dies. The other symptom of this was the most idiotic controversy of the last 48 hours. And there have already been a bunch of idiotic controversies. And that was Elon Musk supposedly being a Nazi. So the press and the left have seamlessly shifted from Donald Trump is a Nazi to Elon Musk is a Nazi. They can't say that Trump is a Nazi anymore because he just won. So instead, they've decided to find the other most prominent person in the administration, Elon Musk, the richest person on earth, and to call him a Nazi. This all began on Inauguration Day. So Elon Musk was obviously extremely excited about the election. He spoke at the presidential parade. He was bouncing around the stage. Here he was speaking.
Can you imagine how awesome it will be to have American astronauts plant the flag on another planet for the first time? Bam! Yeah! How inspiring would that be? You know, there's always problems in life. You know, there's this problem, solve that problem. But you know, there need to be things that inspire you. There need to be things that make you glad to wake up in the morning and say, I'm looking forward to the future.
All of that is right. That's Elon's vision. And you can see he was very pumped up. And over the course of the day, he got more pumped up. Here was Elon getting extremely hyped over the course of Inauguration Day.
Yes! This is what victory feels like. Yeah! And this was no ordinary victory. This was a fork in the road of human civilization. Okay. You know, there are elections that come and go. Some elections are, you know, important, some are not. But this one this one really mattered. And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you.
Okay, so Elon is really hyped up. Now, here's the thing about Elon. When he's hyped up, he jumps around. He makes very large motions. Okay, well, one of these motions would become the motion that launched 1,000 idiotic tweets, 1 million idiotic tweets. So Elon got very excited, and he said that his heart goes out. He was talking about various people. He said his heart goes out to them. Here's the clip, and then I'll explain what the left thought of this clip.
And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you. My heart goes out to you.
Okay, so he says, my heart goes out to you. And he makes a motion where he reaches over to his chest, his heart, right, out to you, and he throws it. But it's an awkward motion. It's stiff-armed. So naturally, the left decides that Elon has become a brown shirt. That's clearly what happened. He covertly became a brown shirt. Sometime over the course of the last 72 hours, Elon Musk morphed into an actual honest-to-God Hitler-loving Nazi, making not particularly covert signs on. Now, listen, I've been through this rodeo before. I'm old enough to remember when Laura Ingraham was accused of this for speaking at the 2016 Republican National Convention while basically waving to the crowd. Okay, but Elon is now going to get it. So here was CNN. Again, they can't let go of it. They can't. They can't let go of the idea that their enemies are evil, that their opponents are evil. They're not just wrong, they're evil. And certainly they're not wrong because they are righteous. They are righteous in their wokeness. And so another episode of Everyone I Don't Like Is Hitler, Elon, is the latest episode of Everyone I Don't Like Is Hitler, according to CNN.
I just want to look at that salute that he gave again, just if anybody missed it, we'll just show it again. He's just wrapped up here. You can hear there. All right, so we just showed that. We just showed that.
Right. It's worth
salute.
It was quick. I think our viewers are smart and they can take a look at that, but it certainly was. It's not something that you typically see at American political rallies. put it that way.
No, it was not something that you usually would see. And it was quick, as you point out. It was very quick, but it was in a moment of intensity for him as he came out dancing, and then he did that.
Just ridiculous. Absolutely. And this became the order of the day in the media. Rachel Maddow came out and blasted Elon for the supposed fascist salute.
In case you haven't seen this yet, this today was Elon Musk, richest man in the world, biggest political donor in the history of our country. This is him today twice throwing something that looks like what is politely called the Roman salute at the hockey arena in Washington before Trump's appearance there tonight. And maybe this is not what he meant when he did it. Who among us knows what is in the hearts of men? Mr. Musk has not yet commented on what he was doing here. But the Roman salute is a thing. And that is what it looks like Elon Musk was doing, which added a nice blood-curdling chill to the day for many people today.
Blood-curdling. Just blood-curdling. I know that awkward hand motions from Elon, who is famous for jumping up and down with his hands in the air, absolutely blood-curdling. You know, not blood-curdling to these people is shooting a 7-year-old child full of hormones so that he never goes through puberty before cutting off his genitals. That's not horrifying. That's humane in the name of Jesus. But Elon Musk giving an awkward hand salute when he says, my heart goes out to people, okay? That obviously is just chilling. Now, I gotta say, you know, I have a pretty high radar for Nazism. I like a bit of a stake in this particular game. Like I feel like I can spot some Nazis when I see them. My Nazi radar does not go off around Elon Musk. You know why my Nazi radar doesn't go off around Elon Musk? Because he's not a damned Nazi. In fact, Elon and I, 1 year ago this week, were in Auschwitz together, visiting Auschwitz together. We did an event where he spoke about anti-Semitism and how evil it is and the evils of Hitlerianism. Like, what is wrong with you people? And the answer, of course, is they know better. Of course they know better. Of course they know better. No one honestly believes that Elon Musk was giving a Nazi salute, but they have to characterize their opponents as Nazis. It's the only way. It's the only way. This, by the way, has been the tactic of the entire post-World War II left. Anybody who is not a communist is a Nazi. That is the way this entire political game is run. Here is Jon Stewart doing this routine. What's amazing is hearing people like Jon Stewart supposedly speaking truth to power, by which we mean just parroting whatever the left-wing talking point of the day is.
Okay. Charitably, I'm going to say that was just an awkward, my heart goes out to you gesture. Many of you might have done it like this. You know, even Taylor Swift has done that, you know, my heart, but she almost never does the goes out to you. Like, just always stays with, but, you know, listen, it's nerve-wracking day. You're not normally a public speaker. It's a one-off gesture. Please try not to use it again. Make sure the people in the back see it, I guess. I'm just going to be generous and say maybe that was Elon's attempt at dabbing on the haters.
Just absolutely ridiculous. These people are absolutely ridiculous. Well, Jon Stewart's probably losing a lot of sleep these days, but you do not need to lose sleep. See, here's the thing. I used to think restless nights were just a part of life. Tossing, turning, waking up with a sore back. I figured that's how sleep worked. And I discovered Helix Sleep. Let me tell you, it has changed the game. Like, I'm on the road right now, I gotta tell you, I'm not sleeping nearly as well because I'm not on my Helix Sleep mattress. What makes Helix different is they don't just sell you a random mattress. They actually match you with the perfect mattress for your body and sleep style. Whether you're a side sleeper, back sleeper, or somewhere in between, they've got you covered. And trust me, when you find the right match, you'll wonder how you ever slept on anything else. Right now is actually the perfect time to upgrade your sleep because Helix is offering an amazing deal. Go to helixsleep.com/Ben. Get 27% off site-wide plus 2 free Dream pillows with any mattress purchase. That's helixsleep.com/Ben for 27% off site-wide plus 2 free Dream pillows with any mattress purchase. helixsleep.com/Ben. I've taken the sleep quiz myself. They matched me with a mattress that was firm enough that that I don't get the back pain, but also breathable because I had to heat up at night. I'll do the same for you. Personalize your mattress the same way you do a lot of other things in your life because you're spending a lot of hours per night on that thing. Go to helixsleep.com/Ben, get 27% off site-wide and 2 free Dream pillows with any mattress purchase. Also, you know, it's pretty frustrating hitting the wall in a workout routine. Now, you go to the gym, you do the same exercises over and over, and then you wonder if you're really making progress. Well, I've discovered Fitbod, and it's changing my fitness game. Just last week, I opened up the app before heading to the gym. And within seconds, it created a personalized workout based on my goals and available equipment. The app noticed when I'd been hitting certain muscle groups too often, so it automatically adjusted to focus on other muscle groups that were fresh and ready for action. Look, there are a lot of fitness influencers who are trying to sell you generic workout plans for really, really high prices. Fitbod is different. It's like having a personal trainer in your pocket minus the hefty price tag. The app adapts as you get stronger, ensuring that every workout pushes you just enough to make progress without burning out. What I love most is how it tracks my muscle recovery, suggests new exercises to keep things fresh. With over 1,000 demonstration videos, I'm constantly learning proper form for new movements. Whether you're just starting out or trying to break through a plateau, Fitbod creates a custom fitness plan that works for you. Level up your workout. Join Fitbod today. Get your personalized workout plan. Get 25% off your subscription or try the app for free for 7 days at fitbod.me/Shapiro. That's fitbod.me/Shapiro. Representative Robert Garcia did the same thing. This became the talking point of the day on the left. This is what you're relegated to. You lost an election. You can't separate off from your own terrible radical ideas. And so you're relegated to calling Elon Musk, one of the most philo-Semitic people on earth, a Nazi. Here is Representative Robert Garcia doing this insane routine.
That was a Nazi salute, and he didn't just do it one time. He did it twice for emphasis. And if you talk to anyone, that's historians, folks that actually study the Nazis and study this actual kind of disgusting display, have been very clear that what that was. And he should not just apologize, he should be condemned for those kinds of actions. So gross, disgusting, but more of what we can expect, I think, from Elon Musk and Donald Trump.
I don't even know what to say to these people. And it's senators, too. It's Senator Chris Murphy. Senator Chris Murphy brought this up in a hearing with Elise Stefanik, who is going to be the UN ambassador for the United States. Elise Stefanik has been one of the loudest and most vocal opponents of anti-Semitism in the United States Congress. She made a lot of headlines last year when she went after various woke Ivy League deans who are defending anti-Semitism on their campuses. So Chris Murphy decides, in all of his idiotic glory, to ask her about Elon Musk and his Nazi salute.
What do you think of Elon Musk, perhaps the president's most visible advisor, doing 2 Heil Hitler salutes last night at the president's televised rally?
No, Elon Musk did not do those salutes. I was not at the rally, but I can tell you I've been at many rallies with Elon Musk, who loves to cheer when President Trump says we need to send, our U.S. space program to Mars. Elon Musk is a visionary. I'm looking forward to his work in DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, and look forward to looking how we can be more efficient and effective. But that is simply not the case. And to say so is the American people are smart. They see through it. They support Elon Musk. We are proud to be the country of such successful entrepreneurs. That is one of our greatest strengths as Americans.
I mean, obviously, all of this is true. This became so ridiculous that even the ADL, who got this stuff wrong routinely, even the ADL was like, no, I'm sorry, no. Quote, it seems that Elon Musk made an awkward gesture in a moment of enthusiasm, not a Nazi salute. But again, we appreciate that people are on edge because the ADL is always trying to have the baby. But come on, guys, come on. Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, who is just deeply dishonest. You know, I'm moving away, as y'all know from listening to the show. I tend to attribute most things to stupidity rather than malice. AOC, I'm not sure that it's possible for a person to be this stupid, and still function in society. So I think it's malice. Here's what she said, quote, just to be clear, you are defending a Heil Hitler salute that was performed and repeated for emphasis and clarity. People can officially stop listening to you as any sort of reputable source of information. You work for them. Thank you for making that crystal clear to all. So AOC is now accusing the ADL of working for Elon Musk. The ADL and Elon Musk have been at odds for literally years. And if we're talking about people who are quite tolerant of the actual Nazism that exists on planet Earth today, AOC is real high on the list. She is perfectly fine with Hamas ruling the Gaza Strip while denying Israel Iron Dome funding to prevent missiles from falling into Sderot. I noticed that many of the people who are most upset about Elon's supposed neo-Nazi salute had not a word to say when Jews were being massacred on October 7th and had many words to say about Israel's ability to defend itself. It seems the only type of Hitlerism that they can't identify is the actual Hitlerism that exists on planet Earth today, the genocidal attempt to destroy Jews in Israel and elsewhere. Unbelievable. But again, this all ties into a broader narrative for the left. And that broader narrative is not just, of course, that Elon is a Nazi, but that the entire right is filled with fascists. Because if you can't convince people that your economically Marxist program is a good idea, because it isn't, and if wokeness isn't selling, you are now left with the final argument. And it's the argument they keep going back to. They're going to keep going back to this well, even though that well is absolutely bone dry. That well is, they're fascists. Now, remember, Joe Biden ran his entire campaign until he died on stage on this issue and lost. And then Kamala Harris tried it and lost. But they ain't got nothing else there. That's all they got, this empty playbook. So here, for example, was Jimmy Kimmel suggesting you might go to jail for clapping too loud in Donald Trump's America if you clap at Jimmy Kimmel's jokes. Are you kidding? Donald Trump doesn't. First of all of Jimmy Kimmel's viewers are either on my show when I play a clip or in his actual live studio audience. There are no other Jimmy Kimmel viewers.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here on Yeah, no, you clap too loud, you're all going to prison too. So.
And this is going to be their argument. So Simone Sanders, who was once the press secretary for Bernie Sanders' campaign and then for Kamala Harris in short-lived fashion, she suggests that the reason that Donald Trump signed the pardons for the January 6th rioters and trespassers and protesters was because he's constructing a private army. Yes, nailed this. They're going to be his private army. One of the things that the left finds the hardest to grasp about January 6th is that despite all attempts, no evidence was ever uncovered suggesting that Donald Trump directed all of the people involved in January 6th to violently overthrow the United States government. Zero evidence was adduced to that effect. But they're just going to go with it, man. Here's Simone Sanders going for it.
And one senior Dem state legislator from out west texted me and said, he literally just let his private militia out of jail. He said he's instilled a sense of loyalty. These people feel loyal to him, and their lawlessness is now going to go unchecked, and he can now call on them again to do what they would like.
Call on them again. Ridiculous. He's the president of the United States. It turns out he's the commander-in-chief. So yeah, I'm pretty sure he doesn't need the guy in the buffalo horns. I'm pretty sure. Meanwhile, George Stephanopoulos thought that this was literally the most important question to ask Secretary of State Rubio. Secretary of State Rubio was approved 99-0 unanimously in the United States Senate. Again, this is not a wildly radical administration. When you're getting nominees approved 99-zip for Secretary of State, which is perhaps the highest position in the cabinet. And what is George Stephanopoulos' top question? What about the January 6th pardons? He's the Secretary of State. Listen to this insane question from Keebler Elf and former Hillary Clinton staffer George Stephanopoulos.
Let's begin with January 6 pardons. Back when this happened, you called it a national embarrassment, saying we now have third world countries that are lecturing us and we have tin pot dictators that are mocking us. Of course, you're now America's top diplomat. You'll be speaking with your counterparts around the world. What message does that pardon send to them?
Well, I don't anticipate a single one of our partners will ask about it, obviously, and you know this well from your time in the administration. And my job is to focus on the foreign policy of the United States. I have a different job this morning and a different focus, and it's one that demands 100% of our attention. And so that's what I'll be focused on, and won't be opining on domestic matters at this point because, frankly, my focus needs to be 100% on how I interact with our counterparts, our adversaries, our potential enemies around the world to keep this country safe, to make it prosperous. That's the clear mandate from the president. It's what he campaigned on. I think he made it pretty clear yesterday that he wants to reinvigorate an American foreign policy that makes America safer and stronger and more prosperous. That's what the promise that Donald Trump was elected to keep, and that's the one we're going to help him keep at the Department of State.
But as a senator, you did say that it affected our standing in the world. You don't believe that anymore?
Well, as a senator, I had an opinion on all kinds of domestic matters, but now I'm focused singularly on foreign policy.
By the way, the idea that Donald Trump pardoning January 6th protesters affects our standing in the world is a joke. That is a joke. Who, really? Which of our enemies are like, wow, he pardoned that guy who was trespassing in the Capitol? I guess that changes my opinion about everything. I mean, if that's the case, What do you think that the world took away from Joe Biden commuting the sentences of 37 murderers, as well as, by the way, on his way out, commuting the sentence of a man convicted of killing FBI agents? 0 police officers were killed on January 6th. On his way out, Joe Biden commuted the sentence of a murderer named Leonard Peltier, who killed 2 FBI agents on South Dakota's Pine Ridge Reservation in 1975. Any questions, George? In the end, the left just can't handle it. They can't handle it. Donnie Deutsch, who's certainly not a member of the right, he was on MSNBC. He said, listen, you may not like Donald Trump, but you really do have to acknowledge that Donald Trump has captured something here. And the folks at MSNBC basically melted down.
I just want to add one thing to that. We can say that to ourselves. He has co-opted America's heartbeat. You have to.
Well, if America's heartbeat,
well, I'm not saying you might not like that.
Hostage families standing behind him and former hostages.
No, America's heartbeat is
standing behind him. That marketing visual is quite something.
Listen to me.
Talking about J6.
Well, J6. People will absorb it because he gives them what they want in other places. This is just, I want the Democrats to learn that you can even get away with things as ridiculous as that if you're feeding people what they want to hear and what they need.
The reality is that the left can't handle it. They're having a real problem here. Well, folks, as we say, the golden age of America has now arrived. From our exclusive inauguration coverage live from D.C. to the first 100 days of President Trump in office, we cover all of it. Uncensored, unfiltered, ad-free, exactly how we intend it to be. The Daily Wire doesn't just report the news. We go straight to the center of it to give you the facts. Live daily shows from the most trusted voices in conservative media. Groundbreaking, culture-shaping, premium content. Hit movies, explosive documentaries, series that actually matter. Not a Daily Wire Plus member yet? Well, now would be the moment. Get 47% off as we honor the 47th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Use code 47 at checkout. That is 47% off when you go to dailywire.com/subscribe. Don't forget, code 47 for 47% off at dailywire.com/subscribe. Meanwhile, speaking of Secretary of State Rubio, he was unanimously confirmed to his position by unanimous vote of the Senate. Secretary of Defense incoming Pete Hegseth was approved in committee to move forward to a full Senate vote. I expect that he will be approved. That is also true of Scott Bessent, who is now moved out of committee as well. So Trump is going to have a full cabinet very shortly. Marco Rubio gave a statement upon his swearing in which he talked about what American policy would be. He was speaking with the folks over at NBC News. Here's what it sounded like.
My job is to focus on the president's foreign policy, and it's going to be a foreign policy that's frankly as straightforward as any in modern times, and that is that the priority of the Department of State of the United States is going to be the United States, and that's what we're going to focus on. Is today we'll have a meeting with the Quad, with foreign ministers from Australia and India and Japan to reaffirm the importance of working with allies across the world on the things that are important to America and Americans, and that's what I'm focused on moving forward. And so, I hope you guys will all understand. I mean, my days, at least in the time I'm at Department of State, of engaging in domestic politics will be put aside as I focus on the affairs that the United States has around the world and the engagements we have to make our country a safer, stronger, more prosperous place.
And the peace through strength message that President Trump is promoting is going to be well promoted by Secretary of State Rubio. Rubio was asked about ending the Ukraine war, and here's what the Secretary of State said.
It's going to be the priority. It's going to be the official policy of the United States that the war in Ukraine needs to come to an end. It is a stalemate. It's a war and it's a conflict that was started by Russia, but it is now a stalemate, a protracted and bloody conflict, been incredibly destructive. I would argue for both Russia and Ukraine, but Ukraine is paying the biggest price of all, to its energy infrastructure, to the people and lives that have lost, to the millions of Ukrainians that have had to leave their countries and are living overseas. The conflict needs to end. And it's a policy of the United States that we want it to end. We want to do everything we can to help it end. We are going to engage in making it end and in a way that is sustainable, meaning we don't just want the conflict to end and then restart in 2, 3, or 4 years down the road. We want to bring stability. We have a lot of important and pressing issues around the world, and I think everyone should wake up this morning and be very happy that we have elected as our 47th president a man in Donald J. Trump that wants to promote peace in the world and bring it to the end of these conflicts.
And this is part of a cohesive philosophy coming from the Trump foreign policy team. Elise Stefanik, who was having her hearings yesterday for UN ambassador, she said something very similar about the end of the war in Ukraine.
I support President Trump's commitment to bringing this war to a resolution, to stop the killing, and he campaigned on that issue, and he feels very deeply, and I support that. And I believe it falls squarely in line with the founding mission of the United Nations to bring international peace and security. If you look at my record over the course of my time on the House Armed Services Committee and the House Intelligence Committee, I have a very strong record when it comes to deterring Russia, pushing back on Russia, including during President Trump's term, voting for defensive lethal aid to Ukraine. I believe peace through strength is our strongest deterrence, and I'm very proud that during President Trump's first term, it was the only president where Putin did not invade another country because of that strong peace through strength leadership and the rebuilding that we passed through the National Defense Authorization Act and President Trump signed into law. So I think our effort should be my effort will be supporting President Trump's mission to bring that to a resolution and to deter Russia in the long term.
Now, again, I think that this is part of the thing that the left has been pushing about Trump for a long time, that he's just going to completely cut Ukraine off and suddenly Putin's going to be strolling down the streets of Kyiv. I've been saying that was not the case for a very long time. In fact, President Trump yesterday said that Vladimir Putin was, quote unquote, destroying Russia. President Trump in the Oval Office said he can't be thrilled he's not doing so well. Russia is bigger. They have more soldiers to lose. But that's no way to run a country. So again, all this talk about Trump being a sort of Russian patsy, he's going to hand over Ukraine to the Russians, it's just not true. And it wasn't true in the first place. Speaking of Elise Stefanik, one of her other points that she was making is that the United States under Donald Trump is going to cut off American funding for terrorism, which is a pretty good start.
We should never tolerate any U.S. taxpayer funds going towards terrorism. As in my question with the ranking member, Shaheen, I was one of the members that voted to defund UNRWA. I was one of the leaders in standing for that important appropriations vote, which there is a bipartisan consensus on, with significant members, Republicans, as well as some Democrats who voted to defund it. I think we can look to organizations within the UN system such as UNHCR, such as the World Food Program, working with USAID, which are proven organizations. They still need, reform efforts and modernization, but don't have the terrorist ties that UNRWA had, particularly that were exposed during the October 7th Hamas attack against Israel, whether it was Hamas's leader Sinwar carrying an UNRWA teacher's passport, or whether it was the UNRWA office above a Hamas data center, or individuals within UNRWA who participated in the terrorist attack against Israel on October 7th. So that I fully support the president's commitment to defunding, and I'm proud to have voted for that in the Congress.
Again, this foreign policy team is not a break from the Trump idea of Trump 1. It is the same, more of that. And by the way, the world's a better, safer place when that was happening. Meanwhile, President Trump is also moving domestically. Yesterday, he announced an up to $500 billion investment from the private sector in AI infrastructure in the United States, which is, in fact, going to be a necessary adjunct to the United States once again leading the world in artificial intelligence, because either we're going to develop it here in the United States or it will be developed by many of our enemies and opponents. OpenAI, SoftBank, and Oracle are planning a joint venture called Stargate. On Tuesday afternoon, SoftBank CEO Masayoshi Son showed up at the White House along with Sam Altman of OpenAI and Larry Ellison of Oracle to announce the deal. They say they're going to plan to commit $100 billion initially and pour up to $500 billion into Stargate over the next 4 years. These will be giant data centers because, of course, AI requires these enormous data centers in order to process all of this. And that means energy utility. And that needs to happen in states like Texas that have an energy surplus.
Together, these world-leading technology giants are announcing the formation of Stargate. So put that name down in your books, because I think you're going to hear a lot about it in the future. A new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure in the United States, and very, very quickly, moving very rapidly, creating over 100,000 American jobs almost immediately.
So again, the winning is continuing. I'm not tired of it yet. The rest of the world is beginning to adjust. Well, meanwhile, over at Davos, Davos is half empty this year because everybody's at the inauguration. Oh, those sad people. Klaus Schwab admitted, hey, we might have lost the trust of the global community. No, you don't say. What could have changed, Klaus?
Us, when we meet today, we also have to face an erosion of trust in our society. We all must work together to regain trust in order to progress nationally and internationally. This can only be achieved if we genuinely address the existential fears of so many, the fears of marginalized, the fears of those who are afraid of accelerating environmental degradation, and the fears of those who worry about being left out in the transition to the intelligent age.
Could they have constructed a person who's more like a Bond villain? Why do you think you lost trust, Klaus? What did you guys do? What was it? Maybe the high-handed, elitist way in which you decided that the entire world economy was going to run on your values rather than, say, free markets and individual choice? What could have happened? But it's fun to watch as the left across the globe begins to deal with the ramifications of President Trump's victory. Olaf Scholz, who will soon not be the Chancellor of Germany, he said, it turns out maybe this whole America first thing, there's nothing wrong with it. It's probably okay.
Yes, President Trump says America first, and he means that. Nothing wrong about that, to focus on the interest of one's own country. All of us do that. However, cooperation and mutual understanding also is in the very own intrinsic interest. I said that for Germany many times. The European Union is the greatest national interest for Germany.
So, again, I think the rest of the world is beginning to acknowledge the obvious. Things are changing. Speaking of which, in just one moment, we'll get into the latest on President Trump's immigration plans. If you're not a member, become a member. Use code Shapiro at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans. Click that link in the description and join us.